Hi there. My name is Dave Mauro, and I'm a mountain climber. And it's my ambition to help build a Sherpa home that was destroyed in the recent earthquake. That home belongs to a Sherpa named Mingma Tring Sherpa, and Mingma lives in Fort Say, Nepal. I met Mingma in April of 2013, shortly after I arrived at Everest Base Camp, as part of a climbing team that would be attempting the mountain. I don't know how Mingma and I were paired up with each other, but I knew almost instantly that I'd won the Sherpa lottery. Mingma had already summited Everest 11 times, and significantly, that was out of 11 attempts. He had literally never attempted Everest without succeeding, which I'm not sure anyone's ever done that. He is a phenomenal climber. He is a superhuman in high altitude, and I couldn't have asked for a better climbing companion. Mingma and I had, from the very start, a very different strategy to climbing Mount Everest. We wanted to speed climb it so that we wouldn't get caught behind the long lines of climbers that had become the norm up high and had become, unfortunately, the cause of many deaths as climbers ran out of oxygen waiting in those lines. So from the very start, we pushed, and we pushed really hard, and Mingma pushed me really, really hard, but it was always with caring. There were times we would be in the ice fall, and I'd be so out of breath, so redlined on my heart rate that I couldn't even unclip my carabiner around an anchor point, and he would just do it for me and then stand there until we could resume. Even though in moments like that we were in great peril. The ice fall is a dangerous place. It's not somewhere you linger. It's not somewhere where you want your climbing partner to be lingering and keeping you there longer than you should be. But he never complained. He never left me behind. He never lost sight of me. He was there with me through all manner of danger. And then on the night of May 20th at 3:41 a.m. we stood on top of Mount Everest together, Mingma and I. And we were alone there for almost an hour. And it was an incredible moment. And in that moment, we became brothers. I don't know how else to put it. We have that kind of connection, and that connection has lingered. So I stayed in contact with Mingma since then, through the tragic Sherpa deaths of 2014, and then through more tragic deaths here in 2015. I found out about the earthquake from Mingma. It happened in the middle of the night, our time. And I was sleeping, and I woke up to the sound of a message coming in on my phone. I thought, who's going to message me at 3 in the morning? It must be important. So I went and I checked it, and it was Mingma letting me know he was okay. The earthquake had happened just 2 hours before that, and he wanted me to know he was okay. And so over the course of the next few days, Mingma and I searched to find out if his wife had survived and if his sons had survived. He has 2 sons. He doesn't know the word son, so he always says babies. He'll say, I have 2 babies, even though they're 12 and 14 now. But they attend a boarding school in Kathmandu, and so many of the buildings crumbled on their occupants during that horrible, horrible earthquake. Fortunately, theirs did not. And Mingma's sons survived. His wife survived. What's more, my entire Sherpa team from 2013 survived. And some very good friends of mine who were on the mountain at the time of the earthquake, climbing it, survived. From my sphere, the main thing that didn't survive was Mingma's home. It was reduced to a pile of rubble. A home that he had spent years putting together with his own hands. A home that houses not only Mingma and his wife and his 2 sons, but his mother and his 2 sisters, and a woman who has no family that they've taken in. They're all homeless. It was destroyed. And as I continued to message back and forth with Mingma over the hours and days that followed, I could see a very real sense of despair in him. It was a side I'd never seen of Mingma. You know, this is a guy who takes on Everest again and again and again, and yet I could see that his spirit was almost broken. And I told him, help is coming. I should say, first of all, he asked me for help. He said, I just don't know what to do. And I could tell he meant it. And he said, can you help me? You know, and from half a world away, I didn't know how I would help him. But all I knew is I had to. I told him, I said, yes, I'll help. Let me see what I can do. And, you know, a lot of times in life, the important thing is deciding to do something. The how you do it is the little pieces. Sometimes there's a lot of little pieces, and this one's got a ton of them because we're trying to rebuild a home at 13,000 feet. There are no roads to the village of Fortze where Mingma lives. You can't chopper lift in supplies because you're already at the ceiling for an operating helicopter. So it can't carry supplies in. Everything we use to rebuild Mingma's home is going to have to be carried on the back of a man or a yak. That's it. His old home was built out of rocks and mud and clay and some wood. Clearly they were no match for an earthquake. We want to rebuild a home that'll stand a better chance of sustaining an earthquake. We want to use some engineering and some construction techniques, but we know we have to use materials that are indigenous to the area. So the first call I made was to my son Trevor, who in 1 week will graduate from Illinois Institute of Technology School of Architecture. How very lucky for Mingma and me. I asked him, how would you feel about designing a Sherpa home? And he jumped on it. He was all over it. And apparently some of his friends found enthusiasm for it and teamed up with him. And together they started drafting what will be Mingma's new home, complete with a ground floor to house the livestock and firewood that gets them through the winter. But it's going to cost money. And I'm asking for help, the same way Mingma asked for help. I'm asking for your help. You know, us together, we're probably a pretty small community watching this video, and we can't rebuild Nepal. And we probably can't even rebuild the village of Fortze. But we can rebuild a house. One house, yes, we can do one house. We can do that. And that's what I'd like to do. That's what I'd like all of us to do collectively. And to do it for Mingma, a kind soul who ask so little and need so much. And so I want to promise you that every nickel of what you donate to this will go to building materials and construction of that home. Everyone who travels from the U.S. as part of our work crew to construct the home will travel at their own expense. This is not going to go through a government authority or some other entity that's going to tie up the money or scoop pieces off of it. Every nickel will go to seeing this through. And I want you to be a part of it from start to finish. I'm a blogger. My mountain climbing blogs have been well followed. And I'm going to blog this thing from start to finish. As a contributor, you'll have the address to that blog. We're going to post pictures. We're going to post videos. You're going to see this thing go from a pile of rocks to a beautiful Sherpa home. And you'll have a part of that. So I want to thank you in advance. I want to thank you for at least taking the time to watch this video. And if you decide to contribute to our Kickstarter campaign, I thank you so much more still. Namaste.